The 3764, Elvis Presley Boulevard. Hit it, Elvis. You got it, E.
Elvis back on tour. Today we are in Little Rock, Arkansas at the site of the T.H. Barton Coliseum. Elvis performed here one time on April 17, 1972. That was part of a 15-day tour that was basically made up the movie Elvis on Tour, and some footage was filmed backstage here. I can only imagine, based on what we know now, that the entire concert was filmed here, but whether that's released, we don't know. This is one of those crown jewels for what Michael and I do, in the sense that we love going to the buildings that are virtually unchanged. This building has changed slightly. It was built in 1952. It's changed slightly, but not a lot. Basically what we're going to do, we're going to go inside. We've set up a nice tour with Will, the director here. We're going to go inside, and we're going to look at where the footage was filmed of Elvis in the red jumpsuit backstage. We're going to go back into that room and we're going to show you where all that took place, and we're basically going to disprove some theories that none of that footage was shot here. Some people believe it was, some people believe adamantly that it was not. We're going to prove that it absolutely was filmed here. The piece just before Elvis goes on stage in the red jumpsuit, when he's reading the greeting cards back in the back with the flowers and things like that, when they talk about the lights being low and being in his eyes, that was all filmed right here. We're going to go inside and show you all that. Okay guys, so we're inside now, and what we want to do is we're going to go step by step and give you fact by fact on the discrepancy that people have had over the years about where Elvis was filmed on tour in that red jumpsuit. A lot of people have argued that it was not filmed in Little Rock, Arkansas, and people have said that it was absolutely filmed in Richmond, Virginia. We're here to set the record straight on this. We know for a fact that it was filmed here in Little Rock, and we're going to give you about 5 or 6 points of reference and kind of put this thing to bed. Not that it's a big issue, but people have kind of argued over the years, you know, where it was filmed, where it was filmed, where it was filmed. Well, since we do what we do, we're going to put this to bed once and for all. So, for proof that it was filmed in Little Rock, Arkansas, what we did is we sent footage from Elvis on Tour to the director of this Coliseum. And he was nice enough to look through it, got with some of his maintenance people, and they gave us about 6 points of reference. And it has to do with reconstruction and reconfiguring of this building. So this building was built in 1952, and now we're going to show you some points of reference. So to give you an ideal starting point, this is where Elvis would have been led by the guys to go on stage. So right here would have been the stage entrance. The first point of reference that we want to point out is in the movie, you can see as Elvis makes the turn to come out of the dressing room, you can see some lights up on the ceiling. And the director and the maintenance guys here said that those are the lights that are in that film. So that's the first point of reference. Second point of reference that we want to tell you is if you'll pause the film as Elvis is standing in the doorway, you'll see these beams. You have to look really closely, but you'll see these support beams for the seating above, okay? So that's the next point of reference that you'll see. And you'll also see kind of a turn, kind of a curve. So that's the curve right there. I don't know if you can see it on the film, but there's a slight curve there leading over to the stage area. Another point of reference that Michael picked up on is in the footage. You will see as Dick Grove is walking with Elvis, they kind of go down a slight incline, or I guess in this case decline. But that's it right there. I'm going to walk over there and I'll show you how you start to go down. So as they're bringing Elvis out, they're going down an incline there. So that's the next point of reference. Now, what we want to do is show you, and we want to thank Will, who is the director here at the T.H. Barton Coliseum. This is where the door was. right here. You cannot see this in the film, but I'm looking at it right here. There's a difference in the mortar, okay? This is definitely a patch job. So that doorway that Elvis is standing in before he goes on stage is right here, okay? It's basically they bumped the building out to make way for a new dressing room in the back and also to make this hallway. So the exterior of the building, the wall would have been right over there. You can see a bump in the floor right there in the hallway. That's where the exterior of the building would have been, okay? So Elvis was right here, and if you're watching Elvis on tour, when he comes out, you can count basically the steps that he takes, and it's dead on for how many steps it would take for him to get over there. Okay, we'll continue our detective work here. So what we have to do is to get into the room that Elvis was actually in, you have to do a little bit of, I don't know, you have to let your mind use your imagination a little bit. But we'll start off with this. This would have been the exterior. This doorway would have not been here. This would have been the exterior of the building. This would have been a wall right here going around. Like I said, they bumped it out. Over here, they bumped it out to create a new dressing room that we'll show you here in a minute. Now, the point of reference that I always used in Elvis on Tour, that we have been to Richmond, and people said that this footage was shot in Richmond in the red suit. It was not. We've been to Richmond. There are no exterior windows in Richmond in the room that Elvis was in. They were here, and we're going to show you footage on the outside to show you. In the movie, in Elvis on Tour, there are 6-pane windows, and you can see some places like where his father was standing, and behind him you'll see 6-pane windows. That window was right here. And if Michael can come in just a little bit, you can see the difference in the block. So this was the original exterior wall. This is where the window was, and you can see it's been blocked in, and here's the line for the window. And if you look at my height compared to the window, and compared to the guys in the video, it should be right on. This was the bottom of the window. Here's the edge of the window. So there would have been a 6-pane window, and we'll show you how they blocked them in from the inside. When they blocked them in from the inside, they boarded them up from the outside as well. Okay, so envision this being the exterior wall, okay? This was not here, obviously. This would have been, as Michael pointed out earlier, I'm outside the building, okay? And now I'm inside. If you look at the outside, here's the outside wall of the Coliseum right here. You can see the brick. Here's the outside wall of the Coliseum. That's what the brick is on the outside. And here's where that window would have been, the 6-pane window. Okay, so now before we go inside to show you where Elvis would have been standing, envision that room was not there, okay? So in the footage where you see Joe Esposito and maybe Charlie Hodge, I think, talking to Elvis just inside the doorway, it would have been right over there. And we're going to show you where that was. But I just want to make sure you can envision that this room was not here, okay? The next thing, so we're back in the room now, okay? So there was a garment rack over in this area, and I believe Elvis was reading some greeting cards and things like that with some flowers over in this general area. That was right in this, that was right here. And the garment rack was over here. And if you look, if you pause your film as you're watching Elvis on Tour when he's there, you're gonna see this beam over near the garment rack. So we got that going on. And now what we wanna do is pretend this isn't here. So we're just basically walking across the room over to where the doorway would have been. The next telltale sign, if you remember when we were out in the hall, I showed you the doorway, and we stood on just on the other side, and I can see it right here. The doorway was right here. It's cut. They cut perfectly, and they put the block back in, and this is where the doorway was. And if Michael can film this beam here, there's a gap between the beam and the wall. If you pause your film and Elvis on Tour, right next to the doorway, there's the beam, there's the gap. This stuff wasn't here. So we're basically standing here. I believe Elvis would have been standing maybe somewhere right in here. When they come in and they tell him the lights are low, they're going to be, you know, right in your eyes. conversation took place. Basically, I don't have the film in front of me, but I think we're in the general spot of where that conversation took place. So we basically came here to tour the building and to kind of sum up an argument that's been held for many years. Not really an argument, but just, people think, no, it's not there, it's somewhere else. We've been to so many of these buildings, and we've been to the 2 buildings that have been used as reference points for the, for the discrepancy. We just cleared all that up today. The director backed us up on that. That's where the doorway was. Here's the beam. That's where he went out. We're going to show you the walk up in the video when we do the video, and we'll have all kinds of outside stuff. We're going to tour the inside of the Coliseum. So we just wanted to make sure that everybody knew T.H. Barton Coliseum in Little Rock, Arkansas.
If you've seen our video on the Greensboro Coliseum, you know that this footage is flipped, so let's fix that before we continue. And if you've seen Elvis on tour, you know that the 2001 theme was a different version than Elvis used. So we are excited to share with you how this would have looked and sounded in Little Rock.
Okay, so like we always do, we like to bring you back to where Elvis would have been brought into the building. This is absolutely the spot because there's really no other spot here to get him back here. This would have been the door that they pulled into and let him out just inside. Not a lot of room just inside this door, but they put the door up, pulled the car just in, and then got him out. And basically, to give you reference to kind of where we're at with where they wound up, when the car pulled in, there's a corridor that goes to the left in there. If you will, think back in Elvis's day in 1972, this building, you see the curvature of the building right here, it just continued right on around, okay? And none of this was here. This has been just recent, or not recently added on, but about, I think they said about 10 years after Elvis performed here, this was added on. Let your imagination take this part of the building away and just look at this as just a round building, okay? The main key that I always focused in, knowing that this footage, the backstage footage was definitely shot here, is one simple fact from the outside. If you look at an old postcard or an old photo of T.H. Barton Coliseum, what you see here are blocked off windows. If you look at an old photo, you're gonna see windows that are 6-paneled. They're cut into a grid, and they have 6 panes in them, okay? They've been boarded off since then because from the inside, they've been blocked off. So you can't see the windows from the inside, you can't see the windows from the outside. If you look up there, you can see it's the same thing up there, okay? But they've been all blocked off.
Here are some outtakes from Elvis on Tour of fans arriving and leaving the show in Little Rock. Years after Elvis's performance, the layout of the road connecting to the Coliseum parking lot changed, but there is still a gate where fans would have entered for Elvis's show. After his show, Elvis had a 1-mile drive to his hotel, which is now a retirement center. We'd like to thank Will from the Coliseum and all the other folks that made this visit possible. With your help, we were finally able to put a decades-old debate to rest. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and follow us on all of our social media accounts using the link in the description below.